This week I wanted to share 5 tips with you that can help make your life a little easier if you cut, harvest, and heat your house with firewood. So I know it can be pretty easy to kind of overlook kindling, but I think kindling is a pretty important thing. We generally end up having to split a lot of it out in the cold winter, and you just don't end up with quite as dry pieces as you like. And taking a little time in the summer can really make a big difference. Especially if you split that stuff up in the springtime, it gives it quite a bit more time to kind of dry out. And kindling does a couple things for you. It helps you get a nice hot fire going nice and quickly, but it also helps establish a draft in your chimney so you don't really get a lot of smoke kind of coming back into your house. I'd really recommend splitting more kindling than you think, and then times that by 2. I know it's a little hard to kind of give up a bunch of nice firewood, and oftentimes we'll use kind of softer woods for that stuff just because it tends to dry a little quicker, as well as it seems to burn a little hotter. Like poplar is like a real good example, or even some nice pine and stuff that will dry out real nice, and it'll just be like matchsticks ready to go up at any given moment. Cool. I really recommend kind of marking your saw, and if you have a splitter, marking that. We have a 22-inch stove, or our stove I guess will accept logs up to 22 inches. And there's been times I've kind of gotten out and got a little sloppy and ended up with some pieces bigger than that, and not finding out until halfway through the winter when they've already been dragged in and ready to go into the stove. So by kind of marking your splitter, you can kind of catch those pieces and get them dealt with before you kind of spend all the time trucking around, and then you're not out in the middle of the cold winter kind of trying to trim those things up so they fit in the stove. Also, a lot of saws are usually 16 or 18-inch bars. And I know kind of the standard for wood sizes is 16 inches, so you can use your bar to kind of help kind of measure your firewood lengths. If you got a bar bigger than that, you can also mark your bar with a marker or some paint of some sort as well to kind of help you as well. And of course, having more consistent sized cuts will also help for a much more stable wood pile as well. 3. Split your stuff in a variety of sizes. I like to have some real big honking chunks. Those generally take a little longer to dry, but I like to kind of call them, I guess, all-night burners because they do a real good job kind of giving you some long burn times with them. But then also cut up some real kind of smaller pieces as well as some medium chunks. Those smaller pieces are great for kind of feeding that fire and kind of really help getting it going. And then, of course, the medium chunks are just a little easier to kind of manage and get going as well. So kind of have a variety of sizes. So tip number 4 is a little hard to kind of get to, but I really recommend working towards this. I recommend working towards a 2 to 3 year wood supply for a couple of reasons. One, you don't really ever have to second guess whether you have dry firewood or not. They say oak can sometimes take 2 to 3 years to actually truly dry and get below like a 20% moisture content. It also kind of gives you a little bit of buffer space. So, for example, this year it's just been so rainy and I haven't really had much time to kind of get out and cut wood. And they usually say to have wood cut by Easter if you want it to be dry come fall. And there's no race, I guess, against the clock at this time. I can kind of lollygag throughout the summer and fall and round up the firewood that I need, so it kind of takes some of that pressure off. As well as if I were to get injured or have some sort of health issue, it also gives me a little buffer space. One other benefit is there's kind of no questioning whether you have enough firewood for the winter or not. A couple years ago we had a real nasty winter, and I know there was a real shortage on firewood, so prices kind of skyrocketed, and it was a little hard for people to kind of round up firewood. If you have one of the newer EPA stoves, that can also be kind of a big pushing factor. Dry wood is a pretty important thing, especially in those new EPA stoves that have kind of secondary burn. A lot of times you can't even get that stove to get into a decent, nice rolling secondary burn without having some real nice dry firewood. So kind of a few other tips kind of related to that 2 to 3 year supply. I'd really recommend taking the time to get your wood pile stacked nicely. You're going to kind of be staring at those for quite a while, and you want those things to be nice and stable. So take the time and do it right the first time. If you guys are kind of interested in how I stack my firewood, you can check out one of my videos. I'll put a link up above. Last and final tip. It may not apply to everyone, but it's kind of, I guess, more applies to people that don't have a very large wood lot or an area to harvest trees from, and kind of finding some places to get wood for free. First option is you can put an ad out on Craigslist, just kind of letting people know that you heat with wood, and if they got some wind-blown trees or something they want cleaned up, to kind of give you get in contact with you. You do have to be a little careful because some people are a little crazy and they have trees that are leaning right back towards their house, and you don't really want to put yourself in a liability issue. So generally try to just be a little picky and find stuff that's already taken down or blown down. Another tip is you can contact tree services. Some tree services do save all their wood and harvest, or split it up and sell it in the off season for a little extra cash, while others don't quite have that property space and actually have to pay a disposal fee to get rid of it. So some guys will kind of contact them and try to work out some deal, or if they see someone working pretty close to their house, kind of flag down, one of the guys and ask what they're going to do with the wood. And sometimes you can kind of get it dropped off at your place. And a lot of times it's already kind of cut up to almost stove-length pieces. Sometimes not, but definitely doesn't hurt to kind of ask. And then the final thing that I had tried in the past as well, several years ago, was I'll run around with some kind of generic notes in your vehicle, kind of stating, hey, I heat with firewood, I noticed you had a tree come down. I'd be more than interested to kind of take it off your hands if you needed to, and here's my contact information. Kind of just leave a real kind of friendly, kind of professional note, and kind of slip that in their mailbox or leave it on their doorstep if you're out driving around and notice someone's got a tree down. Sometimes tree service companies kind of charge you one sum to have a tree taken down and then another chunk to actually have that wood hauled away. And some people want to save a few extra bucks and they don't have them haul the wood away, and they also like, well, I kind of am getting tired of looking at this, so leaving a kind of a note for that also kind of gives you an opportunity. So anyways, I was out splitting kindling and I was just kind of thinking about some of the stuff and wanted to share a few of these tips with you guys today. I hope you guys found them helpful. If so, let me know by clicking that thumbs up and subscribing. Thanks for watching.